in the last year or even longer than that, going through both the development code and the zoning ordinance and making revisions to provide more clarity to staff so we don't have ambiguous decisions and interpretations that can be challenged. And so when the fence issue was brought to our attention last summer, we decided to look at it more carefully and add some clarity for staff so there's more direction when things are presented to us. Because it was of interest to the council last summer, we thought we would bring it back forward to you and let you know the direction that we're proceeding.
I think this came to light some confusion on a fence out on, is it Allendale?
Yes.
Allendale.
Yeah.
That's when it came about.
Yeah, I went and looked at that.
Yeah.
And I thought it was hideous, and staff said it was totally appropriate. And my mom called me to tell me how great she thought it looked. So, I hate to see us in this, and she didn't even know it was an issue. So I hate to see us in the business of regulating people's fences personally. And I'm surprised that we have issues that are that commonplace. I know the councils who asked that this be looked at, but I thought we'd had this presentation like a year ago and the council hadn't really wanted to move forward at that point.
Well, that's when we asked them to, and you've been looking at it for off and on for.
Well, staff has been looking at every chapter of the development code
Right.
and zoning ordinance.
Yeah.
And this is something that we think we need clarity to, so there isn't any ambiguity when someone comes forward with a fence material that is non-traditional.
Mhm. I thought that you guys were the position that you preferred to be able to say, we don't control the material at all.
Well, I think after looking at it more carefully and also looking at what some other communities did, we determined that it would be better to have a list of both permitted and prohibited fence materials. There's a lot of things that people could get creative with, and it would just be more helpful to staff to be able to clearly point to something in the code that says, no, that is not a permitted material. Tires, glass. Those are examples that have been seen in other communities, and so it's much more helpful to staff to have something to turn to in the code to enforce those types of things.
I think my direction would be to direct staff to add a permitted section of materials for fence, period. So that it does eliminate the issues that kind of came up a year ago. Don't want to make it too, I understand what you're saying, but
it seems like
to really clarify to the citizen when they come in, this is what's permitted. Period.
Yeah, and so on the barbed wire fencing, it looked like the city staff is trying to eliminate quite a bit of it, because it looked like there are places that it used to be used that wouldn't. For example, at Lorimer Cemetery, there's barbed wire there now. As I read this, it wouldn't be allowed anymore because it's not a manufacturing facility, although I think it's poor use of real estate. Plenty of people would
consider it a
disagree with
government facility. Does it need security like that?
Well,
That's
it's
what the code
it's
provides for.
adjacent to a residential apartment building.
Well, I think that's exempted.
But then again, we have the Southeast Child Enrichment Center is right across the street from Davis Glass. They've got, so that would be considered prohibited on any fence adjacent to the residential, or so that's one just off the top of my head that I think of when it comes to barbed wire, that you've got a guy who it's going to impact his business if he can't protect his. Am I missing that?
No, and it's inappropriate for us to say a government facility and use Lorimer Cemetery as an example where it would be appropriate to have a fence, because I would be offended that St. Vincent's wouldn't be able to choose to put a barbed wire fence around theirs.
Yeah, I was just
However,
explaining
the
how
city
you can interpret the code if that's what you
Yeah.
think.
I tend to want to be able to keep it as simple as possible, but if staff is wanting to have as much the detail they need to be able to manage it, then
I think
that
personally,
makes sense.
I would just happy with adding permitted materials,
But
period.
in looking at some of those, Mayor, it looked like some of the others, if you go back, Ryan, it looked like some of the other cities and towns had their permitted list pretty,
Short. Sure.
very short.
That's true.
And I would be more in favor of
Sure.
that than,
I don't think we need a lot of detail.
I don't think so.
Just to back staff when people come in and this is
Absolutely.
what's permitted, period.
I think there's a way
Most
to
of them are
keep it
within a
simple
one-
without,
Most of them are in one sentence with a few commas,
yeah, I agree.
period.
If we made the change as proposed, how would the Allendale fence, would it have been permitted or not?
I think it would. Again,
It was
like Molly
chicken
was
wire.
saying, we're trying to be
chicken wire.
specific enough where
Yeah.
a question comes in, we can say yes or no, it's not permitted
Well,
because,
hog wire.
one of the items was the wire,
Right.
the wire stuff. And where do you draw that line between appropriate and inappropriate?
Right.
If you keep it general, then it's going to be open to the staff interpretation, which is
I
fine.
like staff interpretation.
Is there an out clause for staff to make exceptions?
Yeah, I mean, this is in the development code, so there is an exception provision. It would go to the Planning and Zoning Commission.
Yeah. Well, I'm getting kind of mixed messages here from let it alone to add permitted
It would be
materials.
helpful for it to be more clear, but part of what we're doing is making actual changes to it. And then with that said, we have a lot of cases in Cape where there are obnoxious fences where they do use building materials like sheet metal. I can think of several locations where that's done at local businesses. If we're going to change it and prohibit new ones, we really need to require those people to tear that nonsense down, in my opinion.
I like the idea of permitted list as long as you keep it simple. Keep it to a sentence with some comments like
Yep.
they have instead of having a huge big list.
So if it's not on the permitted list, it's prohibited.
But what do we do,
Is that what you're,
Dr. Fox, with the people who have fences that would then be composed of prohibited materials?
This would not be a retroactive.
Typically, their grandfather.
Be allowed to remain and.
Trying to clean up property and that doesn't work.
Hey, it's almost like any other regulation you had. You've got some that are gonna be grandfathered in where they
Yeah.
are.
They'd be non-conforming.
Tear everything down.
We should get into a nuisance. I think the direction is to add some simple permitted for staff clarity and bring the change back to council for action.
okay, we'll do that. Thank you.
Okay, council? All right. Thank you for your work on that. Anyone here to appear before the council on any item that is not on the agenda this evening? Yes, ma'am. Ma'am, sir.
Yeah.
The lineup.
Yeah.
Names, please.
My name is Kaylee Bergen.
I'm Christy Booth. Terry Crane.
Jeff Crane.
I'm in long-term recovery from alcoholism and drug addiction. I've been in recovery for over 7 years. And since I've been in recovery, I have completed training in Missouri Recovery Peer Support Specialist, and I'm currently seeking my bachelor's in business administration, emphasis in accounting, and a minor in landscape architecture. For every state and federal dollar spent on substance use and addiction, less than 2 cents goes towards prevention and treatment, whilst 96 cents goes towards addressing the consequences of our failures to prevent treat the disease.
I'm Terry Crane again. I'm a substance abuse counselor for Gibson Recovery Center. I've been there for 3 years. I've been in recovery for alcoholism for 14 years. And since that time, I made the decision to go back to college after a 40-year detour. I graduated from Central in 1969. I started in 2008 as a freshman, and I graduated in 2013 from SEMO.
Congratulations.
Thank you so much. I did apply for admission to Mizzou thinking I wouldn't get in. I did. So I graduated 2015 with my master's, and my emphasis is in clinical. So my passion is recovery. I wanted to be a counselor when I was in high school, but I didn't think it would turn out this way. So, you know, life has a way of giving detours. So my degrees are in social work, and every day I see the devastation of substance abuse, and I was glad to hear we kind of go together with the kids, because we often work with the parents of the children who need extra services. And what we find is there are some gaps in the treatment centers, and so we're in cooperation with FCC and Gibson and Community Counseling Center. We're not trying to compete in any way, but we have some things planned, some long-term and some short-term goals. And so I'll let somebody else go ahead and tell you a little bit more about that.
Thank you. Jeff?
Hi, my name is Jeff Crane. I'm in long-term recovery from alcohol abuse for over 12 years. Since I've been in recovery, I've helped establish several recovery groups here in Cape Girardeau, served on their business committees, and also currently serve on a district committee which oversees 4 counties of recovery groups. Since 1999, according to the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, deaths from opioids, including heroin and prescription painkillers, have quadrupled. Addiction and risky substance use constitutes the largest preventable and most costly public health problem in the United States.
Hi, my name is Christy Booth, and I am in long-term recovery from addiction for over 13 years. Since I have been in recovery, I've worked at family counseling center women to help them, find a pathway to recovery too. I am a current student at Southeast Missouri State University. I'm in 2017. I will graduate with a bachelor's in social work, and it is my plan to go on and get my master's.
Congratulations.
Thank you. I also just completed a 5K race. I don't know, that was really tough for me. But I
Really,
did it.
congratulations.
All passion for helping people to recover from addiction. As a result, we have founded Living in Recovery, a grassroots nonprofit organization. Our vision is to create a culture where recovery from addiction is understood, promoted, embraced, and enjoyed. A community where all who seek recovery have access to the support to maintain long-term recovery. Our first effort is to change public awareness of recovery and eliminate the stigma associated with addiction. We are sponsoring the Living in Recovery Addiction Recovery Awareness March and Rally on September 24th here in Cape Girardeau, Missouri. At the rally, we will launch our campaign to establish a community recovery resource center, or a drop-in center, where people in recovery from addiction can rebuild their lives with dignity and receive peer support. Our center is not a treatment center or a residential facility, but a place where people actively work on their recovery in a non-clinical peer-to-peer support environment. I am president of Living in Recovery, and am excited and proud to make the first formal announcement of this founding to the Cape Girardeau City Council. We strive, as do you too, to make our city a better community. We ask for your prayers and blessings in Living in Recovery.
Well,
Congratulations.
thank you. Congratulations to all of you, and thank you for all your work, and certainly have that support. If you have a kickoff in September and want some support from myself or staff to make awareness of that, or a website.
We've filled out a parade permit that we're going to.
Okay, that's a good start. That's a good start.
And I met with the university last Friday.
Good.
The Substance Abuse Committee, and they are getting involved. They're providing
Wonderful.
shuttle buses for us. It's kind of gotten out of our hands, taken on a life of its own. Some fraternities and sororities are going to help us as far as,
Great.
and they're showing a video that talks about what our plan is October 20th. So the university is behind this. It actually dovetails with what they were looking for
Yes.
because they would like to have a drop-in center for students to go and have coffee in a non-AANA. I'm nothing against that, but it doesn't speak to the students a lot of times.
Yeah.
They feel like it's old people smoking.
Yeah.
So it's an idea, we believe, whose time has come.
Well, thank you for your
I just
dedication.
want to add that you can find out more about our movement at livinginrecovery.org. And just a minor mention that it does have a donate button.
Mayor, if I could add
Good.
one thing.
Go ahead.
Christy had been in contact with me, and this one's kind of near and dear to my heart. I've had friends that I went to high school with die from overdose. I've had family member who was a recovering alcoholic of 20 years, who because of the Gibson Center was able to have a normal life. And so I personally remember going to those Gibson meetings, and we'll help you guys to get that March permit. Anything that I can do personally, I want to offer that to you all. And
Thank
Christy,
you
I
so very
appreciate you
much.
reaching out to me.
Again,
Thank you for helping.
Again, congratulations on your recovery, and thank you for your dedication to the issue and for serving our community. I think I can speak for Chief Blair that part of his problems in our community include substance abuse to a great degree. If we didn't have substance abuse in our community, his job and our officer's job may not have one. It's that rampant. So I'm sure open arms are back there in the corner with Chief Wes Blair. So thank you for being here in the presentation.
Thank you very much.
Anyone else speak? Any item not on the agenda? Yes, sir.
Mayor Rediker?
NDI.
Yeah, we have applied for the 501c3 nonprofit,
Okay.
and on July 22nd, it was approved by the IRS.
Good.
And I have the letter for anyone that would like to see it from council.
Very good.
Very good.
Very good. Keep it going.
And our meeting is tomorrow night.
How many do you expect?
We're expecting 20 to 30 at it.
Thumbs up. Thank you for being here.
Keep it going.
Anyone else? Any item not on the agenda? Okay, Scott, if you'll take us through the agenda.
All right, we have no presentations tonight, but we do have communications and reports. Council, are there things you'd like to report tonight?
Several here. Number one, participated in a celebration of Jess Bolin and his 50-year commitment to Kappahaw baseball in our community. Did that last Tuesday evening, his last home game here. His son's going to take over the Kappahaws. Kappahaw baseball, as we commented that evening, has spanned 3 centuries in Cape Girardeau. And Jess Bolin in managing the Kappahaws spanned 2 centuries. A real commitment there. And another thing that I would say is there were over 20 that stood with us in front of the mound to honor Jess that night. So a real commitment from former team members and what his passion has meant to Kappahaws and to the city of city of Cape Girardeau, our community, and the youth of our community. Also attended the Cops and Hawks football game on a very hot night. Surprised at the attendance. Had a good attendance, and Wes, any comments about Cops and Hawks? It appeared to be a great event.
It was an incredibly good event. I can honest to say and have said to several people, is probably one of the best events I've attended since I've been here in Cape Girardeau. Just to see people coming together for a common goal, which was for me not to pass out on a 115-degree field, but just to get together and have a good time. And it actually spurred a lot of good conversations later at the dinner that we all had together too. So great event.
Good, very good. Had a very exciting tech event at the Marquette last Thursday evening in participation with a hackathon. And I think at the next council meeting on the 15th, we're going to have a presentation on the hackathon. Okay, plan on that one. I look more forward to that, but had about 300 people there, and exciting things are happening on that corner, and we're very pleased about that. In conjunction with police at Chateau Girardeau this morning, residents have been talking, and I happen to live there, but residents and employees have been talking a lot about compassion and support and respect for our public safety people in light of recent issues. And really, we want to do something. So this morning we had Chief Blair and several officers out this morning to present up to 85 little goodie bags, even a couple little dog bags, to show that we really do appreciate and respect our law enforcement and the great job that they are doing and the dedication they have to our community. So that was an event, Wes, that was good this morning. And the other one would be to vote tomorrow. Tomorrow, August 2nd, is voting day. I'll highlight that. Council, others?
I would like to speak about the SNAP 1,000 Women March that we had Saturday that was huge and successful.
Yes.
And so
It was, and it was great to be there at the beginning of that. That's great, Shelley. Anyone else?
Mayor, I was at the Cape Beautiful meeting last Thursday.
Okay, great. I think another emphasis of that would be in order, so you can make that at our meeting. Anyone else? Okay.
Also, I'll announce the Toad Rain Railroad project that was going to start today is going to start a week from today instead on the 8th. And so that will 60 straight hours, 72, missed it by half a day. 72 hours straight. So that will be starting a week from today. Also, we had a recycling materials boat that dropped by and saw us on the 19th. And that was a good visit as well. So we'll mention those. Are there others? There are 3 public hearings tonight. We have our first public hearing is every year when we do proposed property tax rates. We're required to have a hearing, and so we'll be having a hearing regarding those proposed property tax rates. Then we have 2 hearings regarding Marquette Tech rezoning. The first one is for 338 and the other one's for 400 Broadway. And so both of those and 221 North Fountain. So we have the public hearings for both of those tonight.
Council, since we have 3 public hearings this evening, I think we'll go right from the public hearing to the agenda item and do that in order so that it stays consistent.
Then we have the consent agenda. We have the second, third readings of the promotion materials for Cape Air. And then we have the record plat for American Landmark Properties there at the corner of Kings Highway and Broadway. Changing that property plat. And then we have a record plat for KFVS subdivision in item number 7, going from 2 to 1 on that one. Number 8 is the landlord licensing program. So we'll have the second and third reading of that. And so that's all those were the second and third readings of things we got the first reading last meeting. Then number 9 is a license and indemnity agreement for a sign on 1031 Broadway. Number 10 will be a release of the lien for a HERO program. This is where we go in and update a house and do some improvements to a house prior to someone purchasing it. And then they have to stay in the house a certain amount of time, and then we release that lien after they've fulfilled their obligation. Number 11 is the Emergency Solutions Grant Program, allowing us to go ahead and authorize applications for that. Continued very good program, which we work with Salvation Army, Safe House for Women, Community Caring Council, and Catholic Charities of Southern Missouri. So authorizes the beginning of that grant cycle for that. And then number 12 is the acceptance of the booster pump station at Cape Rock and Perryville. Are there any of these items that you'd like to remove or discuss further? If not, then we'll look at the new ordinances. We have the first new ordinance is another item that we're required by statute to pass a conflict of interest ordinance every, how many years? 2 years. So it's a year for us to do that. So we're readopting that ordinance. And then number 14, have the first reading of that. 14 is the quitclaim deed. This is some proper, a road that we've been removing, Old Vantage Drive next to Drury Southwest, the new convention center site. And they're removing that portion of the road and using that for parking. So that's part of that. And so that will be claiming that quit claim deed for that property. Number 15 is a record plat for the Marquette Tech properties, Old Town Cape or OTC First Subdivision. Number 16 is the levying of the annual city revenue tax, public health tax, special business district number 2 tax. And so that's the levying of those taxes that will be the first reading of those.
And that's from the public hearing.
Yes. And then we're levying those in accordance with the budget that we've already passed. So it's in accordance with those same revenues. Number 17 is operating expenditures, appropriating operating expenditures for the initial operation of the indoor sports complex. As we get ready to start operation of that, we need to market it and get that ready to go. And so this is those initial operating expenses for that. Number 18 is the appropriating casino funds for purchase and licensing of 3 drones. We had actually a employee committee that we put together that looked at that and made the recommendation regarding that. I think Dwayne and Jennifer are here. And if you have any questions of them, they would be glad for answering your questions.
I'm curious just about the training and how that, like how intensive is that training for that you'll have to go through?
Most of the training right now is specific to the actual manufacturer.
Uh-huh.
As a whole, when discussing the UAV, you're looking at FAA requirements. Since we started our committee in February, there's been numerous changes to those requirements. And when I say changes, I mean they've eased up substantially on the requirements. Possibly within a year, you're looking at nothing at all. Right now, since the registration, we're covering some extra cases as far as the training side of it. Just to cover ourselves, and we'll get more specific with that if you'd like. But as far as the training itself, it's such an automated process that it's just specific to the manufacturer.
Okay.
It usually can be a day.
Oh, just technology will be great for both public safety and development services. So I'm excited to see that come on board.
We appreciate their service, as well as some other employees that spent a lot of time working through what we really needed and what was really going to work for us. And actually, the process saved us a lot of money as well. So appreciate their service and their dedication to that. Number 19 is expenditures for a retail market study. We've talked about this a little bit. Magnet has been looking at trying to do a retail market study for Cape County. And so they are, this is our portion of that. Half of the study is being paid for by IDA funds, industrial development funds. And so then the remainder half we're paying, Jackson and Cape are paying for the other half.
And I think it's, my retail background, I think it's really time to get this study done and really have an outside overview look at our market and what we have. We have a great retail market, but what we are missing and what our opportunities are. And the other side of that I'm excited about is this company has all the national contacts, so that when we get down to the recommendations or the results of the study, they'll be there to facilitate contacts. So I'm really excited about that, especially sales tax is our lifeblood, and we need to continue to develop and grow our retail community. So it's a great, to me, it's a great investment in the future of our city.
Mayor, I saw
John's here.
Between you and John, maybe, when was the last time we actually were able to do a retail study?
Well, let me just add on to it, because Eric's right, but it's important to understand that this is a study for the first 60 to 90 days to determine where we are and what gaps need to be filled. The back 9 months of this contract with this company is a recruiting contract. They're going to take a look at what we have. They're going to assess the gaps that need to be filled, and it's not their purpose to bring in additional things to compete. It's their purpose to bring in additional things to expand the pie. And that's what they get paid to do by cities and counties all across the country, and that's what they're successful at. As Harry pointed out, they have contacts with the top national brands, as well as a lot of what we call second level and third tier. All of those are important in the community. They're all important in the community.
Every community.
And this gives us an opportunity to do that. And Robbie, we've never had something like this done. Never had something like this.
I don't remember in my 40 years here.
Wow.
And as Eric pointed out again, the question is, the mayor pointed out again, sorry.
Just don't say, hey, you.
Got you. I mean, retail sales tax dollars are in today's world what drives Cape, what drives Jackson, what drives Cape County. So the more that we can expand that pie, the more offerings we can bring, the more that it solidifies our regional hub status, the more that brings in regional people here, that's what we're doing.
Well, I commend Magnet for having the foresight.
Wayne Bowen and I represent the city in Magnet, and we have endorsed this. Magnet has been to IDA, and we've gotten the match. So Jackson and Cape are sharing this. Both communities need retail, and we need new retail that's going to generate additional dollars. And really excited about the potential.
The only other, how much of this, the breakdown, it's Cape and Jackson. What about Cape County?
No, this is split between city of Cape Girardeau and the city of Jackson.
Have we formally asked them, the Cape County, for help with this study?
2 weeks from now.
Okay.
I'll be here before them and ask.
Okay.
So yes, they will be asked to participate in the funding as well. I do want to give credit where credit's due. Mayor of Jackson, Wayne Hawes, this was on his radar screen when he campaigned for mayor. This was a huge issue to him for the city of Jackson. And so he talked to us early on and said, yeah, if this is successful, can we partner with Wayne, can we partner with Cape, can we partner with everybody in this area and take a look at how we can get this done? And that's what we've done.
Fine.
Thanks, John.
All right.
Very good. 20 and 21 are from the public hearings regarding the Marquette Tech rezoning. And then the last item, number 22, is an ordinance appropriating funds for the capital expenditures of the park improvement projects. If you recall last,
before I go there,
Yes.
I want to state that in no way does what we're doing tonight by appropriating funds for this year 16 preclude the support, my support, the entire list that was presented. I am in total support of the entire list that was presented. And I think it's going to be an exciting addition to projects that are going to be going on between now through 18. It kind of appeared through the paper a little bit and some communication back and forth that we were backing down from what was presented, and that's not my personal intention at all. And Scott, you have some comments about that also.
Absolutely. We were always, the reason we came to the study session last time is because we wanted to give the whole picture of the funding that was available and what the recommendations were to capitalize on that, and to celebrate actually, the fact that that we had money available through conservative estimates and through great project management and being conservative in those projects. So we celebrated that, and then this is smaller because we're only appropriating the money necessary for this fiscal year. So councils can't bind future councils in future fiscal years, and so we're just appropriating the money for this fiscal year in this way. Now I think Julia has a handout that goes through the same handout you got before and adds when they anticipate getting those projects done, just kind of a general time frame of that. And so wanted to share that with you, and then also wanted to share with you the fact that there was some questions about stormwater, and we will be continuing to talk about stormwater and certainly have those discussions with you over the upcoming weeks. And if we want to try to do some stormwater, then we can look to fund that. But those will be discussions going forward, and we hope to be able to do those in the upcoming meetings. Julia's here to answer any questions you might have, and then also just a reminder, we also had Molly had sent out at the end of last week an accounting of the original budget and the current budget. So, Julia.
Just to reiterate from our presentation 2 weeks ago, these were projects that our Parks and Recreation Advisory Board, and Percy is here to answer any questions from our advisory board standpoint, had reviewed over the past year. And then from that presentation, I was asked to, come up with the largest priorities, those infrastructure issues that we needed to have as a most timely nature to get those started. So I refined this list just a little bit, although I noticed I left off the little asterisk on the Osage Center, because I think that is one of the ones that we had wanted to get started right away. A lot of these have access issues, timing issues, safety or efficiency issues attached with them. Those that I felt that we could wait through for our capital improvement process, and some of them are already in the CIP, they're just listed as unfunded. You can look back and check your list for that, but we would be coming back through the CIP process for those items that would not receive immediate or direct funding with this particular appropriation.
Is this list post some of the draft revisions that have been discussed, Scott, such as the concession stand at Cape Splash?
Concession stand at Cape Splash.
I put down under Cape Splash, I said research and include restroom and concession stand portion for phase 2. I know Scott had asked me to come up with an estimate, but I really do feel without stronger research on that amount, we can probably look at getting that accomplished in a planning phase over the next month or two, and then I can come back to you with a more solid estimate of how much that would be. But in speaking with Scott, when you talk about restroom and concessions, you've got a lot of utilities, you've got a lot of big equipment to help support that, to be efficient. And on such short notice, I just really didn't feel confident to give you a dollar amount. It would probably be somewhere in the neighborhood without, don't anybody quote me, but maybe less than $500,000 for that.
Okay, and then the other question I had was the facility generator, line item number 7. How is that a parks item and not a public safety item? For example, we're not going to use the generator to make sure we keep the weight room open. We're going to use the generator to make sure that we have a place for people to go. So, I mean, my opinion would be that that should be something that public safety is determining we need versus that parks is determining. Can you give your input
They
on
have
that?
asked us to do that, and we work together. If there are grants available where we can fund it through public safety, we do. It is the only center right now that we do not have a generator. So it was one that we felt was in an area that could support a generator if needed. It may not be declared a shelter, but it could house different types of functions during an emergency. So that's why it made our list.
And it was one of the items cut from the Osage design when
Shawnee
Shawnee design when we were trying to get it within budget. So it was specifically that, and since we have all the rest of them, we felt like it for cooling centers. Even when we provide cooling centers, if we would lose power, that way we could continue to run the cooling center. One example.
Okay. And can you talk to me about what it would take to fully fund item number 2, the skate park?
Right now, we are looking at, with donations, a total funding amount of $247,000. We feel like to complete the skate park, and it really is dependent on Chris Hudson. What we've stated in the past is that some of the things that he has in the works is in-kind donations. So we've estimated anywhere from $300,000 to $350,000 to complete that, depending on how much he can get in kind, either through cash donation, sponsorship, or in-kind donation such as concrete.
Okay.
That particular project, I would really like to see us be able to get that done. I know that's been something that Chris has been working on, and the Parks and Rec Foundation's been working on for a while. It's just a matter of being able to squeeze the funds.
Well, and
That's my
Chris is here
personal
to answer any other questions you may have about that project.
It's a great project for those kids that don't do a lot of other things.
Yeah,
And you would get them off the streets. That's a public safety issue too.
Well,
You don't want them
my issue is that where it's going to be located, it's very dense. We need to be adding assets like this to the parts of Cape Girardeau that have extremely dense housing. There we have, at Reno, we have, I don't know, a couple square miles of apartment buildings. So I would like to see us move to try to fully fund this. It's near fully funded. I don't know what it takes to do that.
From a convention and visitors, as far as people coming in, I think this project probably gets overlooked. That it might appear that it doesn't, but from different expos and things, from research I've done, this could actually have a decent draw for Cape as well. Julia or Chris, do you want to touch on that a little bit?
Sure. Thank you very much. To clarify on the funding, one of the mistakes I did make with that is when we got the land from the Fair Board, I really didn't put a dollar amount on that. So we started looking around, and that was probably around $100,000 worth of land, plus what we've got private funds. So we've really raised about $156,000, if you want to count it like that. But what Robbie's talking about are contests, and skate contests and bike contests become huge. And what happens is the surrounding communities, the skaters find out we have a good park, they have contests, and they all come in, and it won't be huge off the beginning, but it will just grow and grow and grow because the park will be conducive to that type of event. So, and if you look around in the surrounding areas, this park where it's located, being next to the bike trail, really, it's easily accessible by kids on bicycles or whatever, and they can go to the water park, they can go to the skate park, they can, really get around anywhere. So, those type of things. But yeah, so the tourist part of it is a real deal.
Thank you.
So as money continues to come in from PRS, there's a lot of 17 on there and 18. Some will bubble up as a little bit more of a priority than others. More to come there. But we'll have with action the 16 appropriated this evening.
Well, and let me just, thank you, Chris. I wanted to, I put a little bit of time frames in there because the reason we've been able to save some funds is because our staff do a lot of projects in-house. And so you have to be able to map these projects out from a planning and a mobilization and construction time frame. So it gives you a good idea about where our direction will be headed over the next couple of years. But that also includes opening the new indoor sports complex. We're finishing up our PRS projects, which include Arena Park will be our next after Kiwanis. Then we are working on Cape Rock and Washington, Missouri Park. And then that rounds up, hopefully we'll be well into those projects by 2018. So it's a pretty full list of items to complete in the next couple of years.
Thing I would just wanted to, as I said at the beginning of this, is to be sure that, understand that I totally support all of these projects. The timing is going to be some movement as it comes along and as money's available. We'll do the 16 tonight. But the 17s, we'll see where it goes and where staff directs some of those, but I think they're hearing a little bit tonight, council support.
And Mayor, I wanted to add one thing. From our last council meeting, we had a lot of discussion about this and wanting to be able to see where we were from the original budget to where we're at now as far as a percentage of spending. And I know that that was distributed to the council and to the paper. And I think we've done a good job of actually going above on stormwater. Originally it called for 3 million in stormwater. We spent 4.8 million. Total parks project, we're supposed to be 25.9. They're going to be up to 29 million. Kudos to John Ridgeboard for saving on interest expense on that. So, I feel pleased that we've done a good job of doing what we said we were going to do in 2008. And I feel like, come 2018, I don't have a problem asking the residents to pass a PRS too with the way we've done it so far.
That's a good point. With the 1.6 million extra that we have on the toe wall projects, plus some additional projects we did with, and plan to do with the funds, we have increased that percentage from 9% was the estimate originally with, that would go towards stormwater. Now, the projection is 12 or 12.5%. So we are doing quite a bit of stormwater work.
And those were all listed on there.
Yep, on that list.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
Thank you, Julia.
All right. No appointments. Any other business to come before us at the study session, council? If not, we do need to have a closed session tonight for legal action, litigation, confidential communication with our legal counsel pursuant to revised Missouri Statute 610-021, number 1. If I could have a motion. So moved by Gunn, seconded by Guard. Those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Okay, we'll stand adjourned and reconvene.
Thank you all for being here.